Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are across the country today. Thank you very much for joining our training session for the Sentryx Water Management System. My name is Jeff Ramirez. I am the Network Operations Manager for Mueller Water Products. My team supports utilities on the post-sales metrology and Sentryx supported product lines, which includes pressure supported devices and leak detection. And with me is David Mathis, one of my senior analysts in the NOC. And together we will be focusing on modules and tasks that are relevant to anyone working on billing or customer service roles. But before we get started on any of the actual training detail, good morning, David. How are you, sir?
Good morning, good afternoon for those on the East Coast. How's it going?
So far, so good. I think you and I are both on the same coast, David, but we'll definitely get this kicked into gear pretty quickly. Just wanted to remind everybody before we start talking specifically about Sentryx, some rules of engagement. Most of the presentation, as you can see on the screen share, you should be seeing my screen on yours. The presentation has been prepared as slides, but some sections will have us diving into the live version of Sentryx simply because it's easier to follow through step by step. Now, we'll be breaking up the topics into modules. So if you have a question about a different section of Sentryx that we're not talking about right that moment, we ask that you please write down that question. And please do present it either during that particular module when we're going over it, or at the very end of the session where we hope to have at least some time for Q&A. Now, that being said, I really do recommend that as we're going through the module, if you have a question pertaining to that module, go ahead and post your question on that little Q&A box that you should be seeing on your Zoom screen. It will definitely help us through it. Most of this training has us cutting straight down to the wire. David and I will be happy to answer your questions as we go through it. Now, if you have any technical issues like loss of audio or video or anything like that, please feel free to use the chat window and we'll be happy to guide you through any challenges there. Also, every once in a while, I might ask a question to the entire group, and you can use the chat window to respond to any of my questions live. Now, if you're not familiar with the Zoom platform and the chat functionality, please know that the chat has been programmed to be visible to our admins and panelists only. So for content-related questions, please feel free to use the Q&A button, not the chat button for questions. Plus, we'll be able to collect those questions there. They'll be visible for everybody. Lastly, if power goes out where you are, please consider switching over to your phone. If we really lose you for this session, please know that the session is being recorded, and we will be forwarding the slide deck to the attendee list after the session is complete. Now, with that being said, we're about to kick off the training here for the overall Sentryx overview, starting again with a focus on billing and customer service. And we have to ask ourselves that very first question: why should we even consider Sentryx in the first place for what we're doing? So the answer is that really Sentryx has been designed to embrace the industry's toughest challenges with what we have today in 2022, all of these new technologies and the way that devices communicate through CAT and LoRaWAN, and the way that we're storing information with new database schemas. And all of these new things that define what we call nowadays as smart city IoT can definitely make your lives easier as a billing analyst or as a customer service representative, because it just gives you all the information that you need as you're servicing your customers much more quickly and intuitively. It digests all of the information in a way that you can get your job done quickly. Now, the reason why it's imperative from an overall standpoint for any utility is for several reasons. You have aging infrastructure that is out there. There is a metric that came out: up to 27% of infrastructure saw breaks between the years 2012 and 2018. And that's not Mueller branded equipment. We're talking about across the entire industry, 21 to 27 breaks of infrastructure equipment per 100 miles per year. That's significant. And these tools help us to be on top of these breaks before they become even a problem. That is evident to all of the folks that are using your water services. When you look at labor, you have a high number of workforce retirement. A lot of people that have been in the workforce for a while are now retiring. And then you have new people that not only are costing us more money from a utility perspective, but they need tools to be able to do what people have been doing for years, and they just don't have the experience. How can we get this information out in front of you so that you can get the same type of efficient results out there? Look at water rates, knowing how the rates are increasing day by day. Look at our buyers. They're every day looking for more self-service options or more eco-conscious. Look at supply at the top. We have more droughts, less water supply, more water loss. And in many cases, we're blind to all of it. So we've come to the point where we have to rethink water to be able to reduce manual workflows, embrace new tools, and adopt new practices. And the way to do it is through what we've discovered is a digital opportunity through Sentryx to improve operating performance for all utilities of any size. So scalability has a lot to do with why we do what we do through Sentryx. Now, Sentryx is the digital workspace for the water utility. You are able to accomplish several things at the same time. You're collecting real-time data and insights. You're sharing those insights across teams at the same time in parallel. And by insights, we're talking about site-wide information that's important for you to understand. Are you doing well or are you doing poorly? You're able to respond to critical network events quickly. And by doing all of these things at the same time, you're really addressing the community's needs. So when you're looking at all of these different projects that we've done manually through the years, like asset management and capital planning, water loss management, billing and metering operations, water network and field operations, analytics and insights, we've taken a lot of that legwork and analysis that used to be, good old-fashioned elbow grease, and we're deciphering it for you, being able to put it on a single pane of glass, one digital workspace to monitor, control, and monetize the water network. So this is the way it works. Everybody's going through their lives and moving forward with everything else they do. And in the meantime, the utility has made an investment in leak detection devices, metering, pressure monitoring, pressure control. All of these look like disparate devices, but they're all part of one single water distribution network that feeds into our Mueller system, and the information is digested by Sentryx. Now, all of this information is nothing if we don't make sense out of it, and that's why we have a knock and a lock backing up all of the information and the functionality that's going into Sentryx. So it's one single portal, one single pane of glass, and one dedicated group of individuals, just making sure that when you access the portal through the utility, it doesn't matter if you're customer service or engineering or a non-revenue water manager or field staff or metering operations or network operations, you will still have access through the portal to the right information in a way that it's clear, easy to access, and easy to understand so that you can go ahead with your duties in CIS and billing, GIS, SCADA, model completion, and work order completion, and get the job done at the end of the day. So in summary, you're looking at Sentryx being one platform, very simple workflows, that's the goal, very powerful insights across the entire site. And in my book, one of the most important things is that complex IT integrations are not required, which basically means that if you've been working with other solutions that have you investing on your own IT resources to be able to get a server up, that you have to worry about having the latest iOS version or having the right amount of RAM available for it to process. And if a service breaks down, you have to call someone or find someone in IT to kind of figure things out. We've thrown all of that out the window. All you need is a web browser. Mueller is putting its firepower behind supporting the portal and making sure that you don't have to worry about any of that. All you have to do is focus on your information, your customers, and your needs. And speaking of needs, we break that down on our web portal in several different sections. David Mathis will probably go through each of these dynamic services independently, but we have our AMI meter service, where we can improve your customer satisfaction and increase worker safety through remote meter read and control. And on that remote meter read and control, you don't just access Sentryx through the web, you also have the Sentryx mobile workforce that allows your mobile workforce, your technicians on the field, to also have access to this data. You're looking at pressure monitoring service. So for your pressure monitoring products out there, your HydroGuards, your smart hydrants, you can stay informed of pipeline emergencies and maintain accurate pressure readings on your pipe network through Sentryx. Look at your leak detection service. All of those sonar applications will let you dispatch repair crews with confidence because we verified the leak data, and you're not just waiting for someone to call you up and say, hey, all of a sudden the middle of the road has become a fountain. So, and lastly, the intelligent network service. Now, this is one of the newest additions to the Sentryx capabilities, and it's a way to get visibility and control of your water distribution network through one intelligent service, also with a mobile option for visibility through the Mueller logger configurator. So all of this goes into Sentryx. And just to give you a very quick service overview before we jump into the actual Sentryx guts and details, we'll just say that we've split it and just made it easy for you to think you have a web application that is what you have visibility into all of these product lines. And then you have mobile applications for, like, say, the AMI metering service or the logger configurator for the smart network. For all of these product lines, though, the type of visibility that you get in Sentryx are maps for you to be able to see the physical placement of your devices, along with any alarms or anything that would make a particular group of devices stand out. You have tables that are all readily exportable that you can list and sort and filter. You have insights that will be able to digest all of the information on your site to be able to give you summarized information that you understand. What's your water consumption like? What's your overall pressure for your sites like? Do you have any alerts that you need to focus on, just from a very one page wide view of what's going on? And lastly, you also have graphs and charts to help you to analyze and compare the detail that you see. Now, it's those features that are copied across the AMI metering service window. Your leak detection service modules have a lot of the same features with maps, tables, insights, and graphs, as well as the pressure monitoring service does that as well. So we've done our best to be able to have the same level of granularity and ease of use for all of our product lines, so that whether you've been in, like, say, the metering space for a bit, and you just now purchase some new pressure products from Mueller, it will not be like rocket science to learn a new module or a new product line. You'll already have the gist of how to navigate through the system and get to where you need to go. And lastly, the intelligent network service, also with an enhanced set of analysis tools to be able to give you the power and insight into your water networks. So that's obviously a very quick and very high-level description of why Sentryx is so powerful, why Sentryx is so relevant. And before we go into the meat and potatoes of actually diving into Sentryx, we always want to start out by saying this is the type of system that Mueller absolutely needs your feedback on. We've gotten to the point where we believe we have a very powerful and robust system, but we're not done yet. We want to make sure that we stay relevant. So as time moves on, we are absolutely open to your needs and ideas and what you need to accomplish and we are absolutely open to how Sentryx can help you accomplish those goals. But today, we are going to be focusing on the billing and customer service focus of the metrology module. And to kick us off, I'll hand it over to Mr. David Mathis, and we'll start talking about the Sentryx Office web portal.
Thanks, Jeff. And like Jeff went over, Sentryx is your intelligent platform. This is something that's going to take the data that is out there and just funnel it down into an easy to use, visible source. And what we've tried to do is we try to unify this experience to the UI for ease of management for us, and also ease of management and use for you. And so that's really what we're going to get into is how do you access this information. So I'm going to kind of cover the login, the layout of everything, and kind of how to navigate through that. Okay. So the first thing you're going to see when you have your account created is you're going to receive an email. It's going to have a quick link that you can click on, and you can complete your profile setup process. And that's going to be the login page. So you'll have your email and password. And then we also have, if you, for an unfortunate situation where you might forget your password, you'll have that forgot password link. Just word of note, make sure that you have at least logged in successfully once before using that. That way that it works properly for you. You can, recover your account if you ever, lost your password or anything like that. Which quick, easy, clean login interface there. And then once you get in, you're going to be greeted by the first, what we call really the home page, the meter landing page. So you're going to have a display of the first group of meters, and you'll see things like your meter account information, service address, those kind of things. You'll have to the left there is the primary point of navigation. So with Sentryx, we have created the navigation so it's now left-centered and also collapsible. This lends for more screen real estate, as well as better viewing options for, say, mobile platforms. And you'll notice that's pretty clean. Once you start playing around with it, you really can adjust this whole screen and how everything that displays on it. So it's really flexible. And I'm going to jump real quick into, I'm going to kind of show a live view on this. So I think it lends itself better to a live view. So I'm going to take the screen from you, Jeff.
Sure, no problem. And by the way, we bring this up every so often, actually, during the training. A lot of what David is going to go through live, we will be presenting, like I said, the slide deck at the end of the presentation with the written references of what he's brought up during his live presentation. So you'd have a quick reference available at any time.
Right on. And so now you can see my screen, and this is, like I described before, this is your meter landing page here. The navigation is collapsible. It's kind of cool to sort of see it in action here. And as you can see, as I did that, you have a lot more room here. You can see much more on the screen. You have more options here for, like if you had a mobile, platform that you were using or you wanted to utilize. But just a quick idea of what you're seeing here. So let me expand this again. You're going to see, when you first log in, you're going to see the site selection. So depending on what site you have, you're going to see your utility displayed here. And then you're going to have your dynamic services, as Jeff mentioned before. So depending on what your service is that you have, you may see leak detection if you have that as a product subscription, or pressure monitoring. But we're going to kind of focus on the metering dynamic service here. You can see how I expanded it here. You can see some more information on the screen. This gives you your, say for instance, if you had a DMA, your district metering assets, clickable module here. Groups will go into more discussion about these. Your meters obviously here. And you'll see up here above, we have it gives you an idea of how many items you have selected on the screen. So it keeps a count. And as I click on these, you'll notice that these buttons here, which we call the action buttons, kind of light up. That kind of gives you an idea of what you can do depending on what you have selected on the screen. And we'll go into more detail on that as well later. And then just below this, you'll see the core services. So this is like your profile information, your users on your network here. So when you're in Sentryx, you can actually create your own users. So that's something that you don't have to rely on another party to do. You can actually do that yourself. You can also update your profile information from within here. And then just below here, this would be like your user creation area. And you'll have a list of users, and we can kind of go in more detail later on.
Cool beans. So those are the different sections there within Sentryx, just on the navigational pane. If you don't mind, then David, I'll go ahead and steal the screen back from you, and we'll go diving into our first module specific for billing analysts. So we'll go through the billing process for those of you that are familiar with our existing process in our previous UI for my host. It's pretty much identical, but we'll go over the steps on how it works here for Sentryx. We're going to be covering three things. We're going to be identifying how to import a billing account file. What's a billing account file? It's basically just a list of accounts from your billing system that tells Sentryx, hey, this is the group of customers we want to bill against. Can you give me the latest readings within this date range so that we can go back to the billing system and bill? So we're going to look at how we import that list into Sentryx. We're going to see how we process for missing reads, and that's basically like an error check. We'll go into detail on that shortly. And lastly, after we've done error checking, how are we going to export those reads from Sentryx to your billing system so that you can complete your billing? So in this is going to be another way to, another place where I'm going to switch over to my live view here shortly. But all in all, it's basically a three-step process, like I just explained. First, grab that file from your billing system, import it into Sentryx, define the date range that you want to check in Sentryx to say, okay, check all of these accounts, and for this date range, say these 3 dates, see if you have any reads in there. Check to see if we have any accounts that don't have any reads for those dates. Go through into an error checking process. We'll go into that here in the live version a little bit. And lastly, export the resulting file with all the reads so that I can continue my billing. And this is basically the screen that we're about to flip into on our live version here. So I'm in the Sentryx Smart demo, and underneath this dynamic services for metering, you'll see that there's an area here for billing. So as soon as you click on there, it's a very simple view. First step, you can either select the file that you want to import here, and it'll go ahead and import it, or you can pick it up from your Windows Explorer and just drag it over, and it will add the file here. You should see your file name pop up. After you do that, then you specify the time range that you want to pick up your billing. Let's say that I want to see for that list of accounts any reads that came in within the 1st and the 3rd of the current month. So when I do this, I'm going to have a start and an end date. So if I want to pick up from the 1st of the 3rd, I already specified the start date, but I'm going to do this and mark today's date so that I can pick up anything that came in before that end date. So I hope that wasn't too confusing, but that just means that the start date here on the date range for billing is inclusive of all the reads that came in on that date. And the end date for billing is exclusive of this, mainly because what this looks at is the marker at the very beginning of the day. So if you want to pick up reads that came in on the 3rd, specify the day after the 4th, because that marker, that end, marks midnight that morning. So inclusive date, exclusive date, anything before this date will be red. Okay, I hope that wasn't confusing at all. So import, define your date range, and then thirdly, I would recommend everyone always process the file for missing reads. So this is a button. As soon as you click on it, if you had a file here, it would basically check your file to make sure that every account has a read. That's why we call it process file for missing reads. If one of those accounts is missing reads and we don't have a read that came in for that account for XYZ reason, it will automatically give you a green pop-up here that will say, hey, we have a few accounts that do not have reads. I have automatically created a work order so that your field crews can go out and do a manual read for those accounts. After that manual read is completed, then you should have those reads in the system. And then you have to think, okay, if those technicians went out today to pick up those reads, that means that those dates that came in should now be in the system. And I can now go ahead and process for missing readings. And I will get a green box that says, you know what? I see those readings now. We are good to go. Process that billing response file. So you will only press this button after you have a good file with no errors and no missing reads. Once you process this button, you're going to see a new file pop up right here at the bottom. And this is basically telling you, okay, I have picked up all those reads and it is ready for you to export. You click this download button here for you to export that information into an Excel file, and you can take that to your billing system and complete your billing responsibilities. So all of that is, of course, happy path. Further on down in the training, we are actually going to go into detail into what those work orders look like, how you as a billing agent will know when that work order was complete so that you can go ahead and finish your work on the billing side of things. But that's basically the long and short of it. Import, define your date range, process a file for missing reads, and ultimately process a billing response file so that you can pull those reads and complete your billing process. And that's basically the billing process in a nutshell. Now, I would like to present a pop quiz to everybody just to make sure that we are awake. And I would like to present our first poll question, which is the start date value when you're doing the billing means that reads that came in on that date are included in the billing report. Inclusive. Is this true or false? Again, the start date value means that reads that came in on that date are included in the billing report. Inclusive. Is that true or false? I already see a lot of you that have started out with the right answer. We'll give it a few more seconds for other folks to participate. We'll see if you've been paying attention. All right. Okay, good enough. Let's go ahead and close the poll for now. Go ahead and share those results, and we'll see that most of you are correct. The start date value is inclusive. Good stuff. So I have one more I want to present here. One more question. If we were looking at that start date, then let's look at that end date, shall we? The end date value means that reads that came in on that date are included in the billing report. Inclusive. Is that true or false? The end date value means that reads that came in on that date are included in the billing report. Inclusive. All right, we'll give it a few more seconds. And again, most of you are on the right track. All right. Let's go ahead and show the results for this particular poll. False. The end date value means that dates that came in before that date are included in the billing report, and that's called an exclusive end date. So again, the end date value means that reads that came in before that date are included on that. Okay, thanks everybody. I really do appreciate participating in these questions. We'll go ahead and move on to our very next section here with Mr. David Mathis.
All right, and good job, you guys, on the quiz. So we're going to kind of cover now the meter list and alerts. So I'm kind of going to show you the meter list again and kind of go a little more in detail on the different icons you're going to see, what's expected, and how you kind of navigate through that page. And then I'm going to go over the alerts themselves and what you're going to see there, and kind of the general day-to-day functionality of the alerts page and how you kind of digest that information. Okay, so this is the account listing page, and what you're going to see when you go into the website, and I'm going to show a live view of this right after this slide. You'll see the meter listings page, and this gives you a list of your accounts. You can look up specific account IDs, read accounts for upcoming billing cycle. You can filter by billing cycle. You can also do actions on the accounts. Now, from this view, it's generally a group view kind of, so you can do actions on groups of accounts from this view. As you can see where the checkbox selections outlined there, you can actually check more than one item, and then you'll notice the action buttons up above there will light up, indicating that you have chosen an account and or multiple accounts. You'll also see under the task, you can do generate reports such as consumption or reading. You can do disconnect from meter service requests through the RDM actions button. So you can disconnect, reconnect, or get your current status to see where you are. And you also notice it on several pages, not just the meter listings page. You'll notice this on other pages as well, the export button. And that export button, and let me jump into a live and I can kind of show you real quick. And let's see here.
Maybe not so quick.
Yeah, I've seemed to have lost my oh, there it is. My share button kind of was hiding from me. Sorry, guys. Okay, so now you can hopefully you can see my screen here.
Gotcha.
If you notice, yeah, you'll notice when I click on the export button here, you'll have 4 options. So you'll have displayed columns. So what you see is what you get. All table columns, so everything that's you know, built out through the UI on this page, and you'll get those in Excel format. And then you'll also get these other 2 options. So this is display columns again, and then all table columns as well. And this is comma delimited format. So that's, I just wanted to give kind of an idea of what those were. But as you can see again, as you select items, you'll notice these light up. Gives you an idea of what you can do. And if you go through tasks, you can do your consumption and read reports through this option. Okay. And obviously there's the RDM actions as well. See that expanded for you. And as I select things, you'll notice that it gives me a count of what I've selected. And each one of these will give you an option to do tasks on multiple accounts. So there is a limit up to, I think, 25 for certain actions here. So let me give you a demonstration of what will happen. If you try to select more, it will give you a limit disclaimer here. So it gives you an idea of, okay, you've exceeded the limit. And what that limit is really instituted for is just to ease the system. So if you think about infrastructure and the different things we may be putting on the meters, having a limit there is probably a good idea. If you think you're doing like thousands of configuration messages, if that was something you had to do, or thousands of on-demand reads, that could definitely slow things down. So having a limit there just kind of keeps everything organized. And too bad it's not like that. And I guess if you're from Atlanta, too bad we don't have that kind of situation with our traffic. It's not too organized there. We kind of have to push and shove our way through. But with our system, we've tried to bring it into a more organized fashion and keep everything flowing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with on-demand read, I mean, all of these devices, these radios next to the meters are working off a battery. So being smart about not overtasking those radios is important for them to last a while.
Good point, Jeff. And so the next place I wanted to go in, let me expand the metering module here. I want to go into alerts and just give you an idea of what you're going to see. And you'll notice these little bubbles here. This is giving you an idea of the information that you're seeing on the screen. So like the meters displayed, the total count of your unacknowledged alerts. I'll go into more detail on what that means later. But we're just going to jump into alerts here. And you'll notice this brings us to the alerts page. And what you're going to see here is you have similar navigation like we just showed before. You have these three icons here. So you have your filters, which is your search button. And you also see this on the metering page as well, same thing. And you can also set your columns. So what this button does is this allows you to customize what you're seeing on the screen. Same goes for your metering page. You have the same options. You can display, say you want the account ID or maybe socket ID instead of account ID, you can actually do that. And another thing you can do, which is kind of cool, on back into the meter listing page, is you can drag and move these across. You can do that. So you can have like different things orientated how you'd like. So this is very customizable view. And let me jump back into the alerts page here and sort of go over the same exact thing here for your icons. So you have that same navigation and same organization that you can do with your display here. So that's something we've tried to bring into Sentryx, is have that customized view and tailor it for you, and you can kind of make that customization yourself, which is really great. Next thing you'll see here is the again, you'll see the total count of unacknowledged alerts. And so how exactly do you acknowledge them? What does that really do? So what that is here, you'll notice you have your different accounts. You'll see that I'm organizing it by any. So this shows me what's been acknowledged and also unacknowledged. But let me show you what the unacknowledged one looks like. Just expand that and you can see here. Now these are the unacknowledged ones. And it gives you an idea, have these been acknowledged? No. As you go through and you want to acknowledge these, you would just select them. You can even select the entire page if you'd like, but as you just sort of, we'll just do it, in a singular fashion here. You'll notice it highlights these two. We've got a wheel location error for this one and a no flow detected here. And when I did that, you'll notice these buttons here light up. I'll let you know that you've got at least one selected. It gives you a count to acknowledge. Now, what does acknowledge actually do? Does that make the error or the alert or whatever go away? No. What this does is it marks the alert. It basically lets someone know at your utility or yourself or your staff that you've got eyes on it. Depending on what you need to do, that alert could very well trigger again. But as far as acknowledging, this just allows everyone to say, okay, we've got someone on it. We've marked the alert, but it hasn't necessarily cleared the alert, because if the condition is still true, that alert's still going to flag again. So I'm just going to go ahead and acknowledge this one. And just so it's not unacknowledged, it now shows up in the acknowledged page now. And you get a little token here letting you know, hey, you've acknowledged that one account. And you can kind of go through here and acknowledge the ones that you have an eye on, and you're probably sending someone out to check out and that kind of thing. And if you also notice here, if I click on this and I acknowledge it,
well, that one's going to go away. Yeah.
Yeah. It will actually, when you acknowledge these, you'll notice that the color changes. So it kind of gives you an idea of which ones have been acknowledged, which ones have been clicked through. Mm-hmm. And you'll see that kind of change. So when you're looking on the screen, you'll notice that some are gray, some are bold. That just gives you another visibility metric to see, okay, these haven't been looked at, these haven't been checked off, that kind of thing. So it's another form of seeing it on the screen, and that way you'll know, like at a quick glance, which ones you've looked at or not. And again, we'll go over more of like the different alerts and what you're going to see, but you can sort of sort through these as well. These are all sortable, but I'll kind of go into more detail later. But that's it. That's it for a quick glance at alerts. All right. And there might be a quiz coming up.
Yeah, you got it. I'm ready to go.
Uh-oh.
So let's go ahead and do a pop quiz. Let's see if we made sure that we understood what David was explaining as far as what we see on those screens. And we just took a look at the meter screens and the alert screens. So the first question comes to us, and we're going to take a look at the first poll. Which of the following operations can be completed from the meter screen? A search for a specific account, generate reports to compare consumption, or disconnect service on multiple RDM meters, or all of the above. Again, which of the following operations can be completed from the meter screen? Search for a specific account, generate reports to compare consumption, disconnect service on multiple RDM meters, or all of the above. There you go. Looks like that one had you thinking for a bit. All right, we'll pull the trigger here in just another second or so. All right, let's go ahead and end this particular poll. You are all correct. All of these things can be done from the meter screen. You can search for a specific account. You can generate reports to compare consumption. You can disconnect service on multiple RDM meters, plus many, many, many other things, all from the meter screen. Now, I hope you were paying attention also as well on the alert screen, because the next question is, which of the following operations can be completed from the alert screen? Quantify new alerts, filter for specific alert types, export alert account data, or all of the above. Again, which of the following operations can be completed from the alert screen? Can you quantify new alerts? Can you filter for specific alert types? Can you export the alert account data? Or can you do all? Thinking.
Now I see why in class teachers like to give quizzes. It's kind of fun being on this side of this side of the table. Huh?
I know. It's not until you're on this side that it's like no, but it is fun, and it's great to see, especially the right answers come in pretty much consistently on this one. Great work, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end it and share it so you can all see you are all correct. All of the above. Quantify new alerts, filter, export, and again, much, much more from that alert screen. Great job, everybody. And good stuff, David. Thank you so much for walking us through that. Okay, let's go into our next module. And this one could be kind of fun because we're going to be talking about account inquiries and billing disputes, which is basically a long way to say, let's bring up some customer examples, shall we? We're going to be going over some customer scenarios, and the most that we're going to focus on is we're going to try to identify in Sentryx the different tools that you have available to research when customers ask you questions. Again, focused on the billing aspect and customer service aspect. I'm just going to go over this page at a very high level, but then I'm going to go into the live page, because when customers call, guess what? You're going to be in Sentryx. But we're going to start by analyzing the generate report parameter and how that could be helpful in a certain scenario. So we're going to go ahead and switch on over to a live view. Let's go into our metering. And under our meter list, which, by the way, when you log into Sentryx the first time, this is where you land. So it's a very quick way to access customer information. We were talking about generating reports. Now, whether you do it here for one account or many, or whether you go into a specific account and just look at the generate report, that option is available to you here under tasks. So I clicked on 3 accounts, and I have this area here that says generate report. Now, this is great for some comparison work. If you have 2 accounts that are similar or should have similar consumption levels, and you want to compare both of them, you can select whether you want to see the actual consumption amount or the actual reads on the meter for what you want to run. And all you have to do to get the results is define, okay, I want to take a look at this past month because we're only a couple of days into August, and I want to take a look at the data in hourly intervals. When I select that and hit generate report, you actually get the data right there. Probably start off as just an initial short subset, but then you can expand the view so you can see more data on the screen, and you will see for each address, consumption and reading by each interval. For the next address, consumption and reading by each interval, and for the next address, consumption and reading by each interval. And you're not limited to just 3. You can go ahead and do it for as many as you want, but I think one of the most important pieces is that you're comparing these for a reason, right? And sometimes for those of you that are a little bit into Excel or Excel geeks like I am, going into spreadsheets and analyzing the data, is this larger than this, and exactly how different are they? You can easily export this into an Excel spreadsheet so that you can, go ahead and analyze however you may like. So it's a very, very simple way for you to get access to that information and compare for whatever reason you may like. Now, I mentioned that you can also go into that particular account. I'll go into this one and take a look at the detail specifically here. When you go into the generate report, this will only apply to this account, right? But you have the exact same format. You can go ahead and run it so that you can analyze things. I remember there was one case where I think we had a customer with a bad register, and we went ahead and did this. And when we came down, we hit generate report. I believe I might actually have some folks on the call today that went through this specific scenario. And as we were analyzing it, it was an older mechanical register, and we noticed that it had one of the readings that was just completely off. It had the transmission was incorrect, and we were looking at basically a difference between this reading and that reading, and this number was completely not in sync with the loop. So we realized that there was a problem with transmitting that particular read. So when that came into question, we were able to run this report and say, oh, it was just this problem with that one transmission from the register to the node, and we're able to validate that all of these readings were valid, and we're able to continue on with, in this case, the billing action. But this is a great way to validate, okay, what's real, what's the real trend here for the read, and is that a true consumption level here? So a good analysis tool if anybody puts that into question. And now that I've gone into the meter details page for this particular account, I'd like to obviously bring your attention to this here. Another common case for customers is that they call in complaining about their bill. They probably going into May or June and saying, oh my goodness, it's just such a big hike in my water bill from last month to this month, and that can't be right. Well, different months reflect different seasons of the year. Some months are warmer than others, and you can actually use this data to compare this month to last year, or for whatever reason, last month or last week, but let's stick to the year, and be able to find the variance between 7/18 last year versus 7/18 this year, and how different and how far away is it actually. And it's pretty much in step with what it should be. So maybe you're paying more this month than you were last month, but given the way the seasons have been changing, you are pretty much in the same average usage as you were last year. So it's one of those tools that you can definitely use in a way that's flexible. You can compare to the previous week, month, or year, but you can also drill down to say, hey, I want to see monthly data, or if you don't want to press these buttons, you can just say, okay, for this date, I want to drill down on that date that I have there for 12/1. So double click will actually bring you into a breakdown now for that month on a daily basis. I want to drill down even further. Let me look at 12/15, double click, and now I have the hourly breakdown for that day, and I can compare, whether by day, week, month, or year with a bar or a line graph. So it's all very useful, and it's all based off of the information that you get from those radio nodes that are transmitting those reads to our databases every day. One very interesting thing to note is this on-demand read option, available only for those nodes that have that live connection, that have current status OK. Will allow you to get an instant reading if you don't have something recent here for whatever reason. And it will attempt to connect to that radio and give you that reading. This number will update as soon as you push that button to say, okay, I can see that the read on your meter right now is bloop, and give you that result right there. Now, the way the rest of the meter details page is structured is you have different sections. If you have a little underline right there, that means it's an expandable box, which means that if you click on alerts, for example, you will see the alerts detail. You'll see any status of current alerts. You'll see any historical alerts that have been applicable to this particular account, which, by the way, this is another section where we'll talk about this later. You can go ahead and acknowledge those alerts and mark them like David was mentioning earlier. And also you can configure or change the different parameters for the different alerts for that account. Cool thing is you can go into that account configuration here or on the meter list if you want to change alerts en masse. The next section that we have here on the meter details, if you're talking to a customer, is basically your billing information. Now, this information is really hosted in your billing system. We are getting a data dump from your billing system, and it's overriding everything you have here. So even though, sure, you can click on this little pencil and edit the billing information, as soon as you do an import of your billing account data, it will overwrite anything you change. So really, the single point of truth for billing information is your billing system. We're just relaying it here so that you have visibility into the customer's information. And lastly, this section down here for the meter information would just give you detailed information on the meter, everything from ID numbers to serial numbers to model numbers to what the meter size is, the multiplier that's taken into consideration when you look at the consumption, any billable dials, just very specific information on the meter per se. You also have another sub-tab here that'll let you know about the swap history for that account. Have we ever replaced the radio nodes so far on this meter? And it'll give you that swap date. Right now, we're only tracking the swaps on the radio per se, not the registers, but we are going to include the register history further on down the road. And lastly, the login detail. Basically, this just tells the node, hey, I want to make sure that I capture register data every 60 minutes. Give me that read, and I'll store it so that I can go ahead and forward it to the system after that. For the most part, 60 minutes is the default, and it works fantastically well for any of your analysis reasons. So I've gone through basically the detail on the meter, and there's obviously a lot more than we can cover here as far as the actual meter list here on the main page. So I'll go through that real quick, just so you understand what your options are. You have different options under task where you can select accounts and add them to a manual read work order, or I should say, flag them so that you can add them to a manual read work order. We'll talk more about that on our last section today before we close out our training. We talked a little bit about generating reports when we started talking about the module. And now I would like to take just a moment to pause and talk about groups. This is a great, absolutely fantastic new feature that is only available in Sentryx. You can add a list of accounts to a group, to a new group, or add it to an existing group. And I want to show you what that looks like. We have this section here called groups, and there's basically no parameters that restricts you on the reasons why you could create a group. You could create a group based on DMA. You can create a group based on all of the accounts that are under a specific apartment complex. all of the water accounts that are part of a particular corporation, if you want to take a look at analysis of that. And if I click on it, I'm going to go ahead and click on my DMA group here. The cool thing is that the data that you see here all summarized is basically a collection of all of the independent water meters and accounts that you put into a group. So you can basically do subgroup analysis based on a group of accounts for whatever reason. You can just add whatever you like on there and do the same type of actions that you would on their meter list. So no more need to go to the meter list and then grab a manual list and just take a look at, say, okay, this applies, this applies, this applies. From now on, if you know that you're working like with a corporation or an apartment complex, just create a group for it once and you're done. From that point on, you can just go straight on here, and for all of these, do any certain tasks like generate reports or configure alerts, or say you're going to go through swap operations or RDM actions. We can generate the reports and do compare analysis for it. We can just do it all within groups. So kind of think of it as kind of like a virtual DMA, except without no internal and export meters. But it's just a wonderful tool in Sentryx for you just to analyze a group of meters all at once. So we talked about groups. The other thing I wanted to bring up here is configuring alerts. We'll go into detail on how to do that, but basically here from the meter list is where you would select several accounts and you can configure, I'm sorry, wrong button, configure alerts in bulk here. And lastly, on the tasks button, there is one scenario that we need to cover that is very, very practical. And that is, I'm going to go into the meter details page, how to decommission a node. This is the only place that you can decommission a node. And what decommissioning a node means is you're literally removing it from the system. Now, why would you ever want to do that? So let's say that you have a home that unfortunately had a fire. The building has been condemned. There is not going to be another water meter placed on there for a while. You're going to remove the meter from that site. That would be a good example why you would decommission a node. And what that does, and why that's important though, is that if you do not decommission the node, it stays active in the system, and the system will give you incorrect insights as far as the health of the system, because it's always going to look at that meter saying, hey, this meter is still active, it is still commissioned, I'm expecting water to go through it, and I'm not even getting a communication reading from the node. So this is an unhealthy node, right? Your network is unhealthy, right? Well, wrong. We have to do the proper maintenance to decommission the node and remove it from there. If you want to be able to generate a report and get the consumption and reading information before you decommission it, I definitely recommend that you do. If anything should ever happen and you find out that, hey, the node was decommissioned, but we still need to issue that final bill or anything along those lines, and you did not get a chance to generate the report for the reads, please feel free to contact the Mueller NOC at support@muellerwp.com. We will be happy to go into the database on the back end and be able to get that information for you. And lastly, swaps. Every once in a while, we'll have a reason to swap a register. Maybe it's defective, or a node, maybe a battery ran out or something, or it's not communicating well, and we have to go ahead and initiate a swap. Well, this is what flags the accounts, depending on what we want to do, either replace a node, a register, or a meter base. So we can start all of those, and we'll go into detail on how to do that when we talk about work orders. But for now, we are going to pause right here and just mention one last thing before we go on a quick break. One of the things that David had brought up as he was describing the whole feature set here is you have many, many options to choose from as far as the detail that you want to see on the meter listing page. And depending on how you want to sort it, you can definitely export that list here. So if you're looking to do a list of any accounts that have active alerts, filter it so you have a good list, hit the export button and get the list. If you want a list of all of accounts that have a certain meter size, you can go ahead, specify the meter size, export the list. If you want a list of anything that you have on a certain route, on a certain cycle, on a certain road, this is flexible enough for you to do that analysis there. So with that, I realize that we've been talking for pretty much an hour straight. We are going to go on a very quick 5-minute break. We will be back with our next section as we do a deeper dive on alert management. So thank you very much for hanging there with me. Go ahead and feel free to take a quick bio break, grab a new cup of coffee, and we'll see you here in about 5 minutes. All right, it is now 2:10 on the Eastern Seaboard. Let's see if we can go ahead and slowly reconnect for the next module in our Sentryx training session. We're going to start talking about the alert management module. A lot of folks are going to be focusing on it like network managers and operations managers, but Mr. David Mathis will lead us into the discussion on this one. David, are you back?
I am, Jeff. So yeah, we're going to be talking about alert management here. I don't know if you wanted to wait a little bit longer or you want to go ahead and jump right in.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's give it an extra minute or so.
Okay.
Simply because I know that sometimes you need a little longer break.
Right on. Get back from Starbucks.
Yeah.
Got your coffees.
Yeah,
the afternoon coffee.
I remember last time I did the 5-minute break thing. I started off my cup of coffee. I didn't make it back in time. It's just
right on.
I just left my coffee in the brewer, and it's just did not have a chance. So I'll definitely give our friends another minute.
That is a good deal.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So hopefully that was enough to at least go back and forth and re-energize and get ready for the next section here. What do you say, David?
I think so. Well, guys, I hope everyone's back. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into alert management. So we have a lot of technology here. We've got a lot of moving parts, right? And when something goes wrong with a meter, how do we really, know this, with our system? Well, we have this smart metering intelligence platform to really monitor everything. And this is going to cover you for your nodes, any kind of issues that's going on with them. We have different alert types that are going to cover. And really we're going to go into sort of how you can, the visibility of that, how you can kind of digest that information and even how to configure it. Another access point of information will be alert subscription. So one thing with alerts subscriptions, you'll say you leave your workstation, you're walking around, but everyone has a smartphone, I think, by this time nowadays. So now we have a way that, if you wanted to, you could subscribe to alerts with your smartphone, and that way if you have any issues going on with your meters or infrastructure, you're going to always have that access to that relevant alert. So that kind of keeps your peace of mind with your nodes and your infrastructure, and we got you covered. And another thing is alert monitoring in general. Like what are we covering? What are the different alert types, and sort of how to comb through that information and make it more usable for you and know what to do with it. So going to the next slide here, you'll see the first thing you're going to notice when you're pulling up your alerts, and I'll show you this live example right after this, is you're going to see that we offer a way to notify customers when there's an issue with your meter assets. So say you have a low battery, or someone, the next door neighbors decided to tamper with their neighbor's meter so they can get free water or something crazy like that. We have a way to notify you of those kind of things. Depending on the severity of the alert, we have priorities, so prioritization. So if you got that really important alert to you, it can actually kind of go to the top and get that notification to you. In Sentryx, we have multiple alerts, as I've detailed before, and they're very highly configurable. So you can go in and change the thresholds of that alert and the different behavior. You can kind of customize the behavior of it. It's very easy to access, and we have it in multiple locations, and I'll go over each one in a moment. And these alerts provide insights into the meter state, status of that, and how that meter's health status is, and you can kind of it gives you a proactive approach to your meters in monitoring and managing those. We have a fast notification system, such as like consumption, alerts, tampers, say reverse flows. If you had multiple on a single street, you might even have a water main break. So that's something that we could monitor with our alerts, and you can hone in on a problem before a larger problem occurs. That's really what we're aiming for here. And you also have soft disconnects. Custom limits can be set on your large leak, small leak, high flow alerts, and again, the reverse flow. And really, a lot of the cool features in Sentryx is subscription to alerts. You have through SMS or email, and obviously the active alert monitoring. And with your alert configurations, they are fully customizable, and you'll see that momentarily. We do have a limit, again, on 25 meters at a time, mainly just to ease the traffic on our system, to make sure you don't overwhelm your infrastructure when you're making a large changes. So it kind of also give you a sort of a safety net. So when you're making changes and you're kind of adjusting your thresholds on your alerts, limiting it to 25 at a time would benefit you. So say if you make a change and you then get overwhelmed with a bunch of alerts, so you may have picked the wrong settings. That way 25 at a time gives you a little bit of a window there. Okay, this is the behavior I want. I'll go ahead and expand this out to the next group. And that's kind of an easy sort of a testing provision for you. So I think that's a good limit to put into it.
Yeah. Also, I remember there was this one case where there was a change to thresholds. There was one customer service agent working from home, stepped out for a cup of coffee, and the child came over and inadvertently selected all of these settings for the thresholds to flip. And because it was only limited to 25, there's only so much damage they could do that basically turned off alerting for the 25 accounts. So it was discovered upon returning with a little cup of coffee and probably a slap on the wrist from the toddler. But it's just limitations that allow any changes not to go on en masse unknown to you, and make sure to avoid any potential issues.
Yeah, it's a great safeguard to have. So I'm going to go ahead and sort of jump into the live view and just kind of show you guys where everything is, and then what that's going to look like when you're making changes. So we're going to go into alert types and that sort of thing. So Jeff, I'm going to take over here.
Go for it.
And you should be able to see my screen now. So from this view, this is going to be more of your grouping of alert changes. So I'm just going to kind of show you the alert configuration page from this view. So from the meter listing page here, you'll notice I have nothing selected, so these are grayed out. And as I select one here, you'll see that immediately the buttons go active here. So I'm just going to select a couple, just 3 of these accounts. So from the tasks drop down, you're going to see at the bottom configure alerts. So just left click there, and then this pop-up will then give you the alert types that you can adjust. Also give you the active alerts that are on the system. And with each one that I highlight here, you'll see a brief description of what the alert does. So let's just go with the example here at the top, the tamper alert. So this alerts whenever a node just detects a change to the meter registers. So if something's changed and it's not, it hasn't been triggered by the field tech, then this alert would throw. So you would definitely know when someone's kind of messing around with it. But you can adjust this and let you know if it's sort of with the default. You'll see these little check marks. This means that these are default settings in the system currently. And if I go to change this, you'll notice this little hand pop up here, and it goes into custom settings. Another thing you'll notice here to the left, you'll see this little chip icon and this cloud. And what this designates is with each of the ones that have firmware alert, this is a message whenever you change it, it will have to send a message to the node. And so anywhere you see the firmware alerts, you'll know that that needs to have a node message sent, and it automatically does it once you make a change here. And then also you have the cloud. So this is handled by our software. So the UI itself can handle the change, and there's no need to send a message to the node. But then again, going back into the tamper alert, so if you wanted to make any changes, you just uncheck this, use default settings. You'll notice that that hand comes up, and then you can go in here and make different changes. So you could change the prioritization. So this would be urgent notification. You can also change how many times it sends each interval. Another idea here for, say, if we go down to device read failure, you'll see you can do, you can change how many times, how many reads you get before the alert triggers, that kind of thing. So you've got a lot of different, alert configurations you can do. You can change the time interval before alert on the no flow, say for, instead of weeks, you can go into hours or a month. And each time you make a change and you've got this little hand icon letting you know that you're about to make the custom change, you'll see once you've made those, you have this little save button here. So once you click save, you'll notice that hand stays and you've made a change for that specific alert for that group of accounts. Now, I've kind of showed you what it looks like when you do it for a group. So what does it look like when you do it for an individual account? So I'm just unchecking one of these. I'm just going to choose 753 West Street. So this one here, we've got, scroll down into the alerts accordion. So anywhere you see this line is expandable tab here. So when I scroll over to configuration, this is going to be where you're going to change the alerts on this individual account. So it looks a little bit different, but you have the same amount of information, same alerts, but you also have this one down here at the bottom I'll go into detail on. If you hover over the informational bubble here, you can see you get another brief description of what the alert does. And if you make a change here, you just go over to this page icon and you'll say view edit. You click that, and then you can go in and see what your current settings are. If you're under the default, which you are. And if you want to make a change here, you just click the edit pencil. You'll check this guy off, because if you don't do that, you actually can't make any changes. It won't let you. But if you click on the off, you can go in and sort of scroll through here, change the thresholds. We'll do one for, I think it's no flow. Pencil. Use default off, and now I can make changes to the thresholds. Then once I'm done, just click the little save icon. I believe that's a floppy disk there.
I wonder how many people still remember floppies.
Floppy disk. That's going back some. So this soft disconnect, what is this guy? So if I hover over the informational bubble, you'll see the soft disconnect is set to monitor for unauthorized usage for a specific date range, while an account is expected to be inactive. So this is really great use for customers that are seasonal or campsites, timeshares, and you know the customer is going to be gone for a period of time. So any water that passes through this account will be flagged. And so this is a great feature that's caught some potential water pipe issues, especially with our northern customers. It's been a great inclusion here. So how do you do that? How do you add a schedule? So you click on the little page here, view edit, and you'll see that right now we're currently scheduled for none on this account. Go to the pencil and you'll see the start and end date. So the beginning, say to today, they're going out of town and they'll be back in September. Great vacation. On the 6th. So now we're going to be monitoring, click save. You'll be monitoring for any kind of unauthorized use on this account, whether it be a neighbor using their water hose to wash, their car or something, or it could be something potential as a water leak. You'll definitely be monitoring any of those things. So that's a great feature there. So now went through 2 places. There's actually a third. So the third place would be another place in groups. So Jeff went over previously our new feature in Sentryx with groups. Well, if you were watching a specific, say a group of accounts that you had and you wanted to set alerts specific to those, you can. So I'm going to go into the DMA just for example purposes here. And you'll notice when I scroll down, you get the same view once I expand this accordion as you do from the meter listing page. So in that essence here, I'm just going to select all. I'm just going to click over to the task, and you'll see configure alerts is right there, have the same options. So each time I go in here and change to the specific alert that I want to monitor for on these accounts, and I can change the thresholds just for this group of accounts, I can. And I can make the change here and then click save. So depending on what you would like to, again, it's in the same sense as groups are kind of open-ended. You can use them for what manner you'd like to track. You could do the same thing with your alerts, sort of even enhance that tracking of data that you're doing for that specific group. So it's a really cool feature. So the next thing I'm going to go into is alert management. So kind of showed how we've configured alerts. I've kind of showed you guys all those kind of things. So we've kind of pretty much that's it for alert management, configuring those. So I think we might have a good point or good stop for maybe a quiz.
Ooh, brain tickler. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Since you've been talking about all of the alerts that can, be programmed or configured for those, let's do this one, shall we? Question for the group. You can only change alert thresholds from the meter details page, true or false? You can only change alert thresholds from the meter details page, true or false? Let's see how many were paying attention. So far, you're all right. You have been paying attention, at least from what I see on the poll. We'll give a few more seconds. We really would appreciate everybody participating. These brain ticklers or these poll questions are important because they make sure that things get seared into your brain. You can only change alert thresholds from the meter details page, true or false. At some point, somebody's going to ask you. Coming up to the top of the minute, we'll go ahead and close the poll to see false. You can change alert thresholds from the meter details page, from the general meter list with all of the other accounts, and also from the groups page where David was just detailing and explaining the functions there. So great job, everybody.
Awesome.
Let's see, we're all on the same page. Cool. Back to you, David.
All right. So now we've kind of went into sort of the management or configuration of those alerts. Next, I'm going to show you guys how do you monitor those, a little bit more monitoring of your alerts. So how do you access the subscriptions? How do you subscribe to those? So as you see here, I'm still on the meters listing page. Get back over. Sorry, I'm actually not in there. There I am. If you notice, you scroll over here to the left on your left navigation page, scroll down, you'll see the core services module here. And just below the profile and users, you'll see this alert subscriptions with the little bell. That is going to be how you can subscribe to alerts. So this is going to give you the option to subscribe by email or SMS. So the first things first, let's click in here. And just to give you an idea of what you're going to see, any active subscriptions on your site, which will be detailed which site you're in, will show up here. So you'll have like recipients, and then you'll see the different alerts that they've subscribed to. So you've got alerts off, backflow, register, getting an indicator of who's subscribed to that. You'll see when I expand this little button here, you'll see the email or SMS if they're in there, who subscribed, what days are subscribed for the alert to go to trigger or go off, and then or send them, I'm sorry. And you'll also see the unsubscribe. So you can actually manage your subscriptions from the screen. So if you had a user that was like, okay, I've got that account taken care of, I don't need to monitor it all the time, I would like to be unsubscribed, you can just go right into this to that alert subscription category, and then you'll see that their email address, and you can just go right over here and just click unsubscribe. So we kind of went into how how to view your subscriptions and how to sort of manage them. But how do you add a subscription? How do you add one to someone? So you do that to the top right here. You'll see the add subscription button. So I'm just going to click that, and you'll see it says add subscription. You have your alert types, and you'll see the categories here. So we've got 3 listed here. We're going to kind of focus on these top 2, but you also have the pressure alerts. If you have that product available on your network, you'll see that as well. You can utilize that. We'll sort of focus on the water meter alerts and communication alerts. So your water meter alerts here, to expand this, you'll see all the different ones. You have your tamper, same thing as we went over before, your backflow, large leak, and you just so on and so forth. As we scroll down, you'll see all the ones you can subscribe to. And you can even subscribe to all of them if you'd like. Just click that one there. And then I'm going to go over here to the communications alert. Now, what is a communications alert? This is detailing alerts that is on your infrastructure. So say your collectors, your hubs, your devices there, repeaters. As I scroll down here, you'll see what kind of categories or what kind of alert types you have here. So you have your power outage or tamper. So whenever you do any maintenance on your MNC, this one will always go off, letting you know someone's opened the door there. Your AC power outage. Let's focus on the AC power outage. So this is a big one because your collector goes out, loses power. You'll get that SOS message and be like, okay, my power's out. Someone come out here. So this message will always come through. And so you want to have that subscribed to, I would say, on a 24/7 basis. So let's look and see how we do that. So say you've got your field guys like, hey, I need that AC power outage, subscription. That way I know when this one specific collector may have been having some issues in the area. The power has been kind of flaky. So let's say we've got that selected for them. I'm just going to click next. And let's just say it's this guy, Chris here. He's the one. And you'll notice that it has email and SMS. So if he had in his profile SMS checked off, he would actually have the SMS option as well. You'll notice we have a few that already have that there. And you would just check the box again if you wanted both. We'll just go with email here. And I'm going to click next. And now you're going to see the subscription frequency. So you'll see the always 24/7, which is what I would do. But just to give you an idea of what these other sections are. So we've got the Monday through Friday. So say this is general work week. This is the time that you'd be able to focus on. So you could select that, or you could even drill down further. And as you click on these, it unselects them. And then as I click on them again, they're back active. And you can also change the time as well. So specific to say time of the day you'd like that to push to your email or SMS, you can do that. But we're going to click on always. And then once I'm done, you're going to click on that antiquated floppy disk there, and that way they're subscribed to that subscription.
Hey, David, I remember one of our prior participants in the training courses asked a question. Let's say that I'm just working Monday to Friday. My weekend is holy to me. Don't bother me. But let's say if alerts happened or occurred, were registered over the weekend, will I get those on Monday when I come into the office? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
So for anything that comes in on those kind of blackout days that you don't want it to be sent over to you, it does not mean that you're going to lose that notification. They'll just be sent to you on the next time that you are available.
Exactly. That's a good point, Jeff. Then yeah, just because we don't have them flagged specifically, they would still, you would still get that push. That's a good one. And if you wanted to add any, say, another, say, subscriber, you can do that. If you scroll all the way down, you have the option to add another recipient here as well. So you do have a few other options on your subscriptions. So we actually may have another quiz. Sorry, guys.
I don't think you have to say you're sorry. We'll see how people roll on this one. Poll number 2. Let's go ahead and launch that one.
All right.
You can subscribe to receive alert notifications from where? From the alert tab. Is that true or false? Where do you subscribe to receive alert notifications? Do you connect from the alert tab? True or false? You can subscribe to receive alert notifications from the alert tab. True or false?
Good question.
Now, this one is tricky, and it's the only thing I'm going to say. And we'll see if you guys have been paying attention.
It looks like we got some.
All right, we have people that are awake. That's good.
Some keen eyes here.
Good. And it's great that you have your backdrop there, David. We're past the hour. Let's go ahead and show the results for that particular poll. It is false. You do not subscribe to receive alert notifications from the Alerts tab. You manage the alerts from the Alerts tab, but go ahead and show us, David. How do you sign up for notifications?
So here's the Alerts tab, and you can see I'm not really seeing anything for subscribe, but if you just scroll down to the left here, you'll see it's right here next to the bell icon on the left, navigation, which you can always reach, by the way. And you'll see alert subscriptions here, and now I'm in the place to subscribe to alerts.
Yeah. So basically, consider subscriptions to be on that master menu bar there to the left.
Yep. That left navigation bar, you're going to always be able to reach it. Just below, a good quick tip is it's just below the users button here.
Good stuff. Thanks, David.
All right, so let's go into the since that was kind of tricky, but we're going into the alerts tab anyways. Let's just go over there and see what we got. So this here is the alerts tab, and you'll notice we've got the active alerts here that have not been acknowledged here. And so what are we seeing? Like, what is going on with the screen? And this is kind of where you're going to be able to manage the alerts themselves. So yes, setting your configurations is managing, but actually, going through and marking the alerts and putting action to the alerts is going to be happening from more likely this screen. So once you're in the alerts tab here, you're going to see a few things. So as with all our navigation, you'll see these three icons. You have your columns, your filters, and your clear filters. And what that does, if I'm typing a bunch of stuff in here and I'm like, okay, I need to clear that out, that's all that really does. You have your group by. So this is grouping by the alerts by route or cycle. So I can go through the route, see that here, and go through cycle. And also if I made any changes, I can just click the quick reset button. And then again, how do I acknowledge or mark these? Bam, right there. And just like the other pages we have, when you see this export button, you're going to be exporting in these 4 types. So you can export through display columns, all table columns, and again, in comma delimited format, same options. So when we're going into an alert, something going on with an account, say we've got a no flow detected here. You can see that this one has actually been acknowledged. So we go over here to this filter here. Let me click on this guy here. And we're going to go into the hasn't been acknowledged format. All I did was click the descending ascending option here. So I'll see the ones that haven't been cycled up through the top. So I'm just going to sort of scroll over. And when I'm trying to work with an account here, I've seen this guy's, we've got some information about it. And we're going to go over to the customer. They've got a unable to read device issue. So I've been talking to the customer and we're scheduled out to go out there. So I can actually click on this little note. We do have notes on the alerts. So I can click on here and say, I've got field dispatched, talked with customer, or customer aware, something like that. All right, and then you click save, and now that note is saved on that alert. So someone's got eyes on it, someone's done everything. So let's make sure we mark it acknowledged. And another thing that you can do with this acknowledgement here is once that's done, once that's happened, you'll notice that it will go into the acknowledged area. And now you've got your field operations going out there. You got eyes on it. You got a note. One thing about the notes is they are global view. So that means if I in my profile have set created a note for an account, and someone else is on your Sentryx site, they're going to see that note for that account as well. So that's something that they can use, and they can read the note that you put down on that account. So they'll know someone's out there, someone's going to look at it, that kind of thing. So that's one way of keeping track of your alerts, and also seeing, if someone's been dispatched out. Another thing you can do for your alerts is you can kind of filter on the time frame. So you can kind of go through specific times that you had alerts, or say scroll through previous month or something like that. You can kind of go through and see if there's anything that's showing up that hasn't been acknowledged. Go through like Monday. It's like we got on the 4th here, scroll through, you can do that. And if you're making any changes here, you can always click the clear button.
Yeah, those date range filters are interesting because it's not just filtering for a specific date range. If you click on the filter button, it'll give you options on what to do with that date. If you want to see what happened on that date, or
Exactly,
after that date, or before, it's fairly flexible and powerful depending on how you want to analyze or see the data.
Notice when we clicked on the before, that it immediately shows me July. If I go to, you can go all the way back if you want to. You can click click your descending or ascending option there, and you can kind of go through to the different times that those have been flagged. And also it's going through ones that haven't been acknowledged as well. So you can kind of filter through what's still in your system that needs to be acknowledged. And it's a quick way to sort of get that information in there. So it's kind of a cool feature, and something that, highly recommend doing as you're kind of clearing out your alerts and going through the system like that. So it's a cool, useful feature to have.
And speaking of the dates too, can you tell us about the because I know that there's probably some questions going around. Are these just active alerts that we're looking at here on the alert screen? Are these historical alerts, like everything that has happened historically? So what can we tell our friends on that?
Currently, we are active alerts and unacknowledged, but we are working on the historical aspect as well. So having everything in a more historical manner. So you'll notice as Sentryx rolls out the newer updates, you'll see that the historical view will be flagged as well.
Yeah. So all of the entries or all of the alerts that have ever happened are on this table, and we're working on basically just adding a flag, so that you can also, just by filtering it, see which ones are cleared or not.
Exactly,
right now, the one thing you can do when you look at all of these alerts is filter to see if they have been acknowledged or not. But it's on the timeline to be able to flag whether the alerts were cleared. But if anything ever happened to an account and generated an alert, you'll see it on this list.
Yeah, all your newly triggered alerts are going to show up, so you're always going to have track of those. And the cool thing is you have this count here. It's keeping track of the unacknowledged alerts as well. So you can always look at that and say, okay, I've got about 10 or quite a few, quite a lot there. And you can go in and start clearing those and marking them and making sure you got eyes on them in the field as well. You'll notice here this second tab that says communications, and this is referring to, say, your infrastructure. So if you had any like hubs or something that was throwing a flag or throwing an alert, you'll see that there. And that's another place you can go for your alerts. And if you have like the AC power outage or something, you would see that in your communications tab show up. So that's another place you can check your infrastructure alerts. But we'll be going over another place as well. So I'm going to save that for future reference. And I think we may even have another quiz. Uh-oh.
Why do you say uh-oh all the time? It's just a quiz. That's okay. He's absolutely right. Let's go into the new one. Key question for everybody. What does acknowledging alerts mean?
Oh, good question.
What does acknowledging alerts mean? Does it mean that alerts cleared? Does it mean that alerts are marked? Does it mean that alerts are resolved?
Cleared, marked, or resolved.
Must have went straight to the juggler. You know what knowledge means.
Right on.
All right. Go ahead and show it then.
All right.
Sharing the results. Acknowledging means alerts are marked. So this is actually, believe it or not, a question that most folks actually get confused about. So I'm glad to see we're all on the same page. All that acknowledgement means is we're just marking the alerts that are tied to actions. Does not mean that we're removing it from any view. Does not mean that we're resolving the alerts per se. Just means that the alerts are marked. Good.
Excellent, guys. Excellent.
Right. So I believe there is a follow-up poll, last one for this section. Now that we know what acknowledging is, where can I acknowledge alerts? Single choice. Is it in the alerts tab that you acknowledge alerts? Is it in the history section and the meter details? Or is it both? Where can I acknowledge alerts? In the alerts tab, in the meter details page, or both? Give you some time to think about it. Would appreciate, go ahead and punch what you think is the right answer. All right. Yay, and more people woke up there. Okay. So not a whole lot of participation, so I wonder, but I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll and share the results. It is both.
Yep.
You can acknowledge alerts in the alerts tab that has all of the alerts on there, as well as the history section.
And I'll quickly show that real quick for
Thank you.
everyone. So from the alerts page here, you'll see acknowledge here. And then when I'm going to go over to the meter landing page, I'm going to click on, say, a specific account. If I have an alert here, you'll do it from the history. So if you had an alert here, you would acknowledge. You'll see the acknowledge button whenever you have an alert there. So those are the two places. Good job, everyone. Thanks for participating. And I think that does it for alert management. No more quizzes, guys, for me. No.
Thanks, David. I think we're going to go into our last break before we go into our last modules, going into work order management. We're going to look
Right on.
into work orders and also take a look at our new mobile Sentryx mobile workforce app. So we'll take a quick 10-minute break. We'll be back 2 minutes before the top of the hour and bring it. Oh, thanks, everybody. Oh, by the way, as we go off, I've noticed not that many questions in this particular session for Q&A, but I would like to encourage everybody, if you do have a question, please feel free to go ahead and use the little button below that says Q&A and ask away. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
Yeah, thank you guys for your questions and for participating today.
All right, that marks the end of our brief 10-minute break, and we're about to go into our last remaining module to go over work order management and work orders and how that works. Now, the reason why this is important to billing and customer service is that, particularly for billing, we went over the scenario where sometimes if we do not have the reads that we need in the system would trigger a work order to go ahead and collect those reads manually and then come back, and that way we can use those reads for our billing purposes. So we are going to go over the overall overview of work orders in general, not just for manual reads, but how they work and flow. We're going to take a look at the structure of the work order. And we're also going to be taking a look at the upload and import data module for when we use work orders for brand spanking new accounts. So we'll be going into all of that. And I guess this is where I have to put in another plug for you will be getting this slide deck with the description of everything that we're about to review live. But this is one of the things where I don't want anybody to get lost. So I'm going to go straight into my live view so that you can see with me how these work orders are created. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about just what type of actions are done on work orders. So work orders handle basically 3 different types of actions. You can have a work order to complete a manual read for a particular account. You can also have a work order to complete a swap for either a radio, a register, which is where the actual dials are, or the meter base, like say the actual bronze or composite meter base. You can have a work order for that. And then the third instance is you can have a work order for a brand new installation of a radio, a register, or a base. One last thing is that you can also process swaps and installs on repeaters. We will go over that process here as well. But those are the different reasons why you can use a work order. So either for manual reads, for swaps, or installs of radios, registers, meter bases, and repeaters. So as we go into the work order screen right here, though, we will see it's broken down into 4 sections. Basically, once a work order is created, it automatically goes into the ready section. And it just means that your field technicians can now use the Sentryx mobile app to claim and say, hey, this is the work order that I'm going to be working today. And as soon as they claim it, it'll automatically go down and be flagged in this claimed section. As your technicians go out and complete your manual reads or your swaps or installs, then slowly those accounts flow into the completed section, and you'll be able to see that work order being complete. This is the section that our billing friends will need to be paying attention to because as I'm expanding the view now, if you're waiting for a particular manual read, you can see this work order type. You can actually filter by those. And you know that you're waiting for that manual read cell or work order. In Sentryx, we call them work order. If you're used to working in our previous UI, MyHost, we used to call those cells. So cells is the same thing as a work order. If you're waiting for that to come through so that you can complete your billing, all you have to do is take a look at the completed section, and you're waiting for that work order number to come in here. And that's how you know you can go ahead and complete your billing process. So that's basically the 3 steps: ready, claimed on the tech's handheld device in the Sentryx mobile app, and completed once it's all been completed. Cool thing about the Sentryx mobile app is as soon as you complete each job, it immediately transmits the updated status to our central databases, and you don't have to manually say sync or look for any other additional step to transmit that status into our system. So it's much faster than it has been in our previous solution. Now there's one section down here called aborted meters, and that basically means if there was any meter that a technician went out to work on and they could not complete the work order, either, hey, I showed up, but you know what, somebody just ran off with the node or ran off with the meter, and you know, it's just leaking water here, or I don't have the right tools to be able to complete this action here, the technician can actually notate the aborted reason. You'll see that listed here. And once we are ready to be able to complete that action, you can mark that account and create a new work order to go back out and go through the normal process again. So for any exceptions that did not allow a field technician to go ahead and complete that action, you can go ahead and mark them and put them back into the cycle so that you can go ahead and complete those meters. So all of these sections here that we have available list all of the different work orders that have been created. You can go in to the detail to see what accounts are on which work order. And one of the things that we needed to highlight, particularly when we have a brand new cell that's been created, let's say that we have the billing folks went through their billing, and now you have two accounts on here, but they're on opposite ends of town, handled by different technicians, so they're on different routes. You can actually go ahead and select whatever is on that different route, and you can filter by that route if you have to, and go ahead and split that cell to either a brand new work order or an existing work order, so that one technician can download one work order, and the other technician that's going to be working on the other end of town doesn't have to wait for the previous technician. You can go ahead and create a new work order, and you can start working straight out of the bat. So this is another great new feature that was not available previously in MyHost and is available now to you through Sentryx. When you create the work order, you can now split it and make sure if you have multiple technicians that need to go out, you can go ahead, divide and conquer. No more waiting a day to create a different work order. So you can parse it however you want, and you can also add any meters directly from the screen if you're looking at it and you're saying, hey, you know what? I know I have another account that it's not part of my billing list, but I was working on it and I can tell that I need to do a manual read. Let me just add it here real quick, and you can also add it here from the add meter button. That lists everything that's on the ready box. Under claimed, there is one nuance I wanted to explain, which, by the way, as you go into the specifics for this, not only can you filter for the work order type if you're looking at installs or swaps or manual reads, but you can also go into the detail here of the work orders. I know it looks exactly the same as ready, but I just wanted to highlight one quick change on this claim status is you have this reset status button. On previous solutions, you had old Trimble brand radios or Nautilus X8 radios, and every once in a while you had some sort of failure in the download of that cell, where you had a technician that says, hey, you know what, I tried to download the cell, I don't see the detail yet, but in Sentryx it's saying it downloaded already. Something must have happened with the transmission. Can I just reset it and start over? In Sentryx, yes, you can, and you don't even have to escalate to the NOC. You can go straight here under claim, reset the status, and it'll bump that work order back to ready status. You can start all over again and download it until it works. Another cool feature is for each work cell, you now have this export button here, and you can export the account detail for all of these accounts that are on a particular work order. If you want to do that for any particular reason, now you can. So those are all very great features that you can use when you're working through the work order. So after you have a work order created, that is the cycle. But I would like to take just a quick step back to say, how do you create a work order from the get-go? So our friends in billing already know how to do that when they're going through their billing checks. at least for manual reads. But let's say that we have our operations people or our customer service people, and we're getting a call and we're seeing in the account, hey, we have a meter that is showing a bad status. It's apparently not connected to the radio. We have to send someone else out there. So we can actually go out there and make sure that we assign a few accounts. I'm just going to randomly select a few. And you can say, okay, I know, and I've been working with the NOC. We really do need to get these radio nodes swapped out. The NOC let me know, hey, I've got a mitigation list. I can't talk to these nodes. Someone needs to check them. Go ahead and start this. So you can either initiate a node swap for the radio, a register swap for the register, or a base swap for the base meter. Now, what this does not create a work order. This just identifies the account or flags the account to make them available for you to add them to a work order. And this is mainly because it just tells the work order engine the type of work that you want it flagged for. So as soon as you say initiate for a node swap, the second step is you go to work orders and you go into this button here that says create new work order. Click on it, and it will list all of the accounts that you flag. So this is where you want to go say to task and say, okay, I want to take a look at any accounts that I had flagged for a swap, and those are my accounts. If I have the addresses or socket IDs, or if I want to filter them by route, I can just identify them there. And I can go ahead and select everything that I want to add to a particular work order, and then hit the create work order button. I can then name it whatever I want. Just work order. Hit the little floppy disk, the save icon, and you're good to go. So that's the way it would work to be able to create a work order. And as soon as you do that, that's when you'll see that work order number pop here under the ready status. So it is a two-step process. Again, flag the accounts first, and then under create work order, you would go ahead and identify those accounts to then actually add it to a brand new work order. Okay, and that's the way that that process works. So going back just one more step, we now know how the flow works. We now know how to create a work order for swaps. We know how the manual read process works, where we can go ahead and either from the billing process or from the meter listings, flag all of these and say, hey, I want to add all these to a work order for manual read, or from the actual meter details page, go ahead and add it to a manual read. Now let's talk about a different scenario. Let's say that we have brand new accounts. We have what Mueller calls a CIS billing file. Let's go into this button that says upload data. Whenever you have either updated information from your billing system or new account data that you want to import to your billing system, this is where you want to go. So again, work orders and then upload data button will take you to this area. Historically, within Mueller, we call this a CIS file. You might call it differently, but long and short, it's the information from your billing system with the account information. And this is where you upload it. Now, historically, this is all set up from the get-go, from the time that your Sentryx account is created, and our integration specialists are working with you and your billing company to be able to configure the right format for these files to work. A lot of them will be going into this configuration file and just making sure everything is in the right path. But once that format is set, all you basically have to do is import that file here, and it will automatically load and come into a new line here. We've hard-coded this so that the statuses don't change. As soon as you upload a file, you'll see that the status changes to uploaded, which means it's processing, still working on the data that you just uploaded. And after it's processed, you'll see the status is completed, and you'll see either successful records or failed records. You don't want to see failed records. If you see failed records here, then you know that what you attempted to import was not successful, and those updates are not reflected in Sentryx. So that's a little check and balance to make sure that everything that you imported was successful. And what we've seen in practice is that sometimes the format that the billing company will send you the information in will sometimes change without anybody telling you. Some companies are better than others if anything like this happens. But if there is a change that basically breaks the one-to-one relationship and the mapping that has been programmed into Sentryx, and you should reach out to your NOC or email us at support@muellerwp.com, and we can help you to be able to connect with your billing company and make sure we're on the same page so that you can reprocess the file and you can have all your records successfully uploaded. Once that happens and your records are successfully uploaded, any new accounts that were not in Sentryx already will automatically appear here under Create New Work Order in the existing data, ready for you to say, hey, I want to take a look at those new accounts that should be flagged as installation. These are new accounts. And you can go ahead, flag those or all of them, and create your work order to complete the install. So this two-step process does help to be able to identify why something is in a work order, identify whether it's manual read, a swap, and install. And as soon as your technicians see that, it's clear what they have to do, and it makes things easier for them. So you can go ahead and filter this for whatever makes sense according to your environment, your route, or your billing cycle, or whatever. And that basically allows the work order to be created. So I think we've covered all of the different scenarios for how a work order flows. We've created the two different scenarios for how to create a work order, and also how to work with work orders with brand spanking new data from new accounts that we're adding to the system. There's one more thing I'd like to visit before we move on to the next module with David, and that's this reporting button right here. We can actually run reporting specific to the field work that we do. Now, I know that this relates a little bit more to folks that are working on the field service aspect of things, but if you just want to run a report that lists all of the swaps that happen within a certain time frame, you can choose whether you want a report that only reflects the swaps for water meters and repeaters, or water meters only, and generate the report here. So we call that the swap report. We also have an installation issues report, which basically for the entirety of the existing of the system can identify a subsection of issues or problems with installations, if any happened, based on these three reasons. For any hardware installations, RDM install issues, GPS issues, it all depends on the reason. You can go ahead and select the report type, generate the report if there were any problems with installations. And then lastly, we have the manual read report, where you can go ahead and basically do an export of the current status of any work order that you choose for manual read. So you'll see how many were successful or unsuccessful, or completed or uncompleted, and you can run it here. So that covers how the work orders flow, are created, and how they are managed. Again, a quick note for our friends working with billing, be sure to take a look here in the completed tab. Once you do a check for missing reads, you will get a work order number. You can go ahead and punch in that number there, and as soon as it pops up on the view, you know that you are good to go, and you can complete your billing task. So I'll go ahead and close that particular section of it and hand it off to Mr. David Mathis. David has the distinct privilege of walking us through the Sentryx mobile workforce app.
Thanks, Jeff, and great coverage on the work orders and how to create them and sort of how to walk them through the processing of those. Appreciate that. So yeah, I have some great news. So we've been working behind the scenes for a good bit now, writing the Sentryx mobile workforce app. And today I'm going to show you quickly how you would log in and create your or claim your work orders with your field technicians and show them how to go through the work orders and how we kind of track everything through the app. And it's really exciting for us. So definitely I'm going to enjoy showing this off to you guys. So quickly, I'm just going to show you how to claim a work order, unclaim, and then kind of go through some other features of the app, like the install radio and a little bit of the diagnostics. And let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And let me expand this too. So I want you guys to be able to see this in full screen for you. There we go.
Actually, I'm not seeing your screen just yet. Oh, there you go.
Yep. All right. So when you first log into the Sentryx mobile workforce app, you'll use your same login that you use on Sentryx on the UI. You'll see your site name there and also the category that you're going to be looking at. So when I select the category of metering, you'll see the work orders, GPS configuration, diagnostics, install radio, and RDM control. We're going to focus on work orders real quick just to sort of show you how to claim and unclaim those. So I just clicked on, and this is all touchscreen, the work orders tab here, and you're going to see the current ones that are in ready status. That means these are available for me to pick. And as your field technician goes out, they're going to choose, the specific ones they would like. So let's say, just for an example here, I'm going to choose this one down here. This is install swap. So this is ID 130. So I just selected that just by pressing it. You're going to see these are node swaps. So this is a 130 node swap. And then I can kind of claim this at the bottom. You'll see that claim work order. So all I have to do is press that. And it's going to say your work order has been claimed successfully. Also, you'll notice it says to do. So that gives me an idea of, okay, what's my to do? When I scroll over, you'll see that I haven't done any work quite yet. So if I click on the node itself, this top one here, I can start task. And you'll see, just gonna click that there. You'll see it gives me a few options. So you've got GPS. It actually logged my GPS current where I'm at right now. And you'll see the node serial number. So the one you're swapping it with. You've got your GPS here. Don't mind that. Don't be looking me up, guys. So you'll see old meter reading. You can log those in, the pit lid type, that kind of thing. And once you're done, once you have everything entered, you're going to click swap. And then that will log that part of the work order as complete. And then the next one here, you'll have the same option. That is essentially how you would do a swap in the new app. Another thing we're going to sort of show you is from the assigned work order. So when you've assigned yourself a work order, you'll see that when I backed out to the listing of the ready work orders, you'll see that I have claimed. So it actually keeps a list of what you've claimed. And then as you go in through these different work orders, you'll see the to-do list to make sure you're able to log your work in for that. So you'll see the to-do list. And as I complete it, it will go over to the completed status here. Now, what does that look like, on the UI? I can kind of show you guys here momentarily what that would look like. And then as we go through here, so we've got the work orders portion here. So I'm just going to hit back. Now, what is the other categories here? So the GPS configuration. This is going to pull up, like if you needed to update something for, say, a node serial number, and you could add your lat and longs there. You can sync that up. You also have, hitting the back button here, the diagnostics. So when you go into diagnostics, it's going to ask you for your radio. So make sure that that's connected to the smartphone. It works with Bluetooth now. And Jeff, can you give them a quick idea of what they would need for that radio to be compatible with the Sentryx mobile workforce app?
Sure, no problem. So most of you are kind of used to having a handheld, either our older Trimble Junos or the Nautis X8, and then have that connected via Bluetooth to a white install radio. We're using the very same white install radio, but for it to work with newer Android and iPhones, it requires an update to that Bluetooth module. So we do have a Bluetooth replacement process set up as a regular RMA that you can go ahead and send in your install radios, and it takes about 3 weeks for it to get over to us and for us to process the replacement of that Bluetooth module and return. So I would definitely recommend that we kind of factor that in. If you have more than one install radio, probably send one in first and then the other one so you're not entirely out. But please know this, if you do send it in and there's something else wrong with the install radio, maybe the battery's not on the up and up, or there's some physical damage to it, it will extend the time it takes for that install radio to be returned to you beyond that 3-week window. So just please be aware. Another comment is that install radio is backwards compatible with your old hardware, with the Trimble and the Nautilus X8. So please know that if you send it in, it's not that it's going to stop working with your older radios. You can still use those. Those are backwards compatible, and you should still be good to go.
Thank you, Jeff. That's great information. And like Jeff mentioned, that the newer technology, when you get this upgraded Bluetooth chip, you're going to notice much better behavior, especially obviously with your smartphones. And that's one thing we're trying to ensure that, yes, we definitely support our older handhelds that and the Naughties, but the evolution or the next step for all our customers and just more accessibility for everyone is to migrate to something that everyone generally has is a smartphone. It just makes sense to have that, that ability. It's already there. All the phones have cameras. You have that technology out there. And so that's what we really wanted to bring to you guys. So a quick synopsis here for the diagnostic action. So you'll pick your node serial number here. And if you wanted to do, say, a task on a specific node, so just to give you an idea of what that is, so you want to do an on-demand read or get your remote disconnect meter status, get time or firmware version, and an important one is read water 3 wires. That would give you an indicator if there's any wiring issues or anything like that. You just select one of these, you click OK, and then it's going to ask for the node serial number. Once you do that, you're going to click submit, and then that would run the message to the specific node indicated. Yeah, it's just a quick way.
Oh, that reminds me. Please know that Mueller is actively continuing to improve not just the Sentryx mobile app, but Sentryx as a whole. So with this list of diagnostic options that you see here, that list is slowly going to expand to include other options beyond that. So just FYI, it won't just be limited to this. I think we're looking at, I think we've been hitting monthly releases with improvements to the systems and feature requests. So our development team is definitely on a roll with Sentryx. We're absolutely open to feedback from any of you, just to make sure that we are hitting the right goals and tending to the right needs that you have out there in the field.
Yeah, your feedback is hugely important, and it's definitely we work as a team. You guys are helping us, and we are helping you. So that is important for us. Feedback ensures this product hits everything, and it does exactly what you need it to do. And a quick thing here for just, for instance, the install radio itself. So if you need to pair this up, it'll be very simple. Generally, it's almost like pairing like a set of headphones to your phones. Simple as that. So you're going to click. Once you had that Bluetooth turned on, you're going to see the pair new radio, and it's going to start scanning, looking for that radio. And as long as your radio's in pair mode, you're going to see it appear much faster than, say, doing it with the handheld. It's definitely more seamless than that. And then once you have your install radio paired, another option you can try is, say, your RDM controls, so your remote disconnect meter controls. That's another option here, and it is going to prompt to make sure your radio is connected. And you'll enter the same, say, your serial number in this box here. It's going to bring up your chat or your text entry, and then you're going to see the action. So you have your 3 RDM actions: your open, your close, or if you want to just get the current status before you make any changes, you can see whether it's open or closed, and you would make the change there. And each time you see you make a change in the mobile app, you're going to see that submit button. And just to go back, to circle back here, I'm going to jump out of this page here. Pause this real quick. And I'm going to show you what it looks like here. When you go into the when you claim like a work order. So now we're in the work order screen on Sentryx, and I'm going to bring this. Hopefully, I can see this this app here. Let me see if I can minimize it so you guys can see it kind of on the same screen. Okay. There we go. And so I want to claim, I'm just going to grab one of these. 138. Go with 135. Or which one is showing here? And you can also do by search. So if I'm going to look up, say, test. So I'm going to click on Allison. So 123 here. So I'm about to claim that now. I'm sorry, I'm going to ready. Here we go. That's where I wanted to be. See if I got a test here. Here we go. That's the one I'm looking for. So 128. I want to claim this one. So I'm about to do it. You're going to see this shift over. So I'm clicking on it in the app here. It's a read. About to claim this guy right here. I think I'm actually going to go with 141. See, it works a little bit better as far as if it's a swap. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and claim this guy.
And we're not seeing the actual manual mobile app, though, David.
Oh, it's not showing? Okay,
No.
hold on. Can you see it now?
Nope.
Both screens? Oh, darn, it's not showing it.
Nope.
Well, I wanted to kind of show what it looked like, but guys, I might not be able to show this on the screen at the same time. Looks like my.
Well, if you show us on the mobile app just how it selects, it's probably enough to see that it changed sections after.
That's a good idea. So I'll just go back to sharing this one more time. Yeah, it looks like Zoom's kind of blocking me from showing both.
Mm.
All right, so can you see it now?
Nope. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so you got it. So yeah, so if I'm going to click on one of these here, and also how you unclaim, I also want to do that as well. So if I wanted to unclaim this guy, unclaim, I just click the 3 descending dots. Now I've unclaimed that one. And so I want to do, say, this one here. Now you see the claim work order.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to show it on the web page at the same time, and it's not going to let me, unfortunately. But just again, how would I claim that? Claim work order, bam. And that's it. And then when you see, I go back, you're going to see I have my claim. There we go. So yeah, that's it. And just a final note, this app is available on the Android Google Play Store and on iOS devices as well through the Apple Store. So you guys can go ahead and take it for a spin.
Good. Thanks, David. Really appreciate it. And for all practical purposes, that concludes the training session for today, with the exception of one last order of business, and that is we have to ask you one last question before we let you go. And that question is, are there any barriers that prevent your utility from making a complete transition to Sentryx within the next 30 days? So are there any barriers that prevent your utility from making a complete transition to Sentryx within the next 30 days? We'd appreciate your answer here. We will basically use those answers to be able to reach out to you and to be able to understand what those barriers are. If you'd like to go ahead and share some of the details on those barriers right now, you can do so on the chat button. But in any case, if you can at least mark the poll, we will reach out to you later on to make sure that we are checking off all the boxes that you need so that Sentryx is a relevant and working system for you. We don't want to just say, hey, this is a one-size-fits-all type of deal. We want to make sure that we are listening to you. And the only way that this is going to be a truly relevant and worthwhile and effective system for you is if you tell us so. So for any of those reasons, please be sure to mark that final poll, and we will give you a follow-up here in the next coming weeks to be able to analyze those details. Thank you so much for hanging on with us for the past 2 hours and a half. We realize it's a marathon. Hopefully we have made each sprint worthwhile, and we appreciate all of the feedback that we continuously get. Please don't forget, if you have any questions that you have not submitted today, please be sure to forward it over to the Mueller NOC at support@muellerwp.com. That's support@muellerwp.com. We'd be happy to answer any questions for you there. David, thank you so much for being my wingman on this. I really appreciate it, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks everyone for joining us today. It's been fun.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll be hanging on until the end of the session if anybody wants to add any of the barrier details to the chat box. But beyond that, thanks, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful day.